is this for an alternative investment? Water. That is exactly what one asset manager is banking on right now. Blue Sky Water Fund invests in a portfolio of water rights across river systems. With me now, the founder and managing director, Mark Sowerby. Mark, it's great to see you again.
Hey, good to be back.
So you have about $1 billion in assets under management.
Yeah, just over $1 billion now.
And a lot of this is going towards investing in water.
Absolutely. So I think the opportunities around water are globally unique. And for us, the opportunity in Australia is actually very different. So
I even saw a report from the UN that says something like in 30 years' time, there's quite a few countries that are not going to have enough clean water, and they're big ones, and it's a lot faster than a lot of people thought.
I think it's already happening. I mean, we've seen the problems in China. They had a rice crop that 10% of it was contaminated. So there's been so many problems in China. I think they're now outsourcing their water. So you're really selling real water when you're selling grain overseas or cattle or anything else.
From what I remember from the world map, Canada looks pretty good. In other words, Canada will have clean water, and Russia.
Yeah, Russia's fine, because I think places where it snows a lot, that helps you a lot. So even in California, you've got a drought there now. It's been going on for 4 years. When you get a big snow melt, that's going to help California a lot as well.
So, Mark, I want to ask you, when you invest, are you more likely to invest in distribution and piping versus actual water?
Great question. So we do actually have some distribution that we own. But I think the opportunity for us is to actually own water rights and own the real thing. So rather than owning what's distributed in the cup, is owning what's in the cup. And that's what people are using to produce food. So really what you're doing is you're buying, a leverage play on food prices.
But how do you protect from the idea that, let's just say, if water becomes scarce, people are literally just rioting in the streets, that the government just doesn't nationalize certain assets?
I think it's a difficult thing to do, to nationalise any asset. The Australian context is a little different, and so is California actually, because you're producing food from those things, and most of those licences are actually owned privately by farmers. So to take that away from farmers when they're producing a crop, I think, is really challenging. In the Australian context, almost all of our water is agricultural. So there's a very small urban population, 23 million people. So that water can't be shifted. You can't transport that in ships or anything else.
So as far as an investing outlook, I'm assuming this is a long-term play, and that's how you explain it to your investors.
Absolutely. So the way we think this will play out is that water will become scarcer and scarcer, and the prices will continue to move higher and higher. And so we talk about higher highs and higher lows. So it'll still have some volatility, and the volatility we've measured is actually pretty similar to equities. And so when we see that across a portfolio, though, we do think that we'll have non-correlation, we'll actually have dividends that we can pay out. It has some liquidity, and it plays a long-term theme. So I think this is a multi-decade play.
Okay, multi-decade play, and what kinds of returns? I mean, it's obviously good to have access to water, but what kinds of returns do you discuss with your investors?
Well, the last 12 months, we've done 20% net of fees. So, and since inception, we're sort of mid-teens. So we talk about mid-teens over 20, 30, 40 years. And since the mid-80s in Australia, we've done about 15% as an asset class. So I think mid-teens is achievable.
Remarkably strong.
It is, and it's also compounding. So ultimately, I do think that water will move to where it's more of a utility play, where it becomes more infrastructure-like in terms of its returns. But for now, there's a first-mover advantage. And of course, people are just recognising that water is such an important commodity. I think the Californian situation has shone a light on that as well.
It certainly has. Mark, before I let you go, you did a pretty big race, some water involved?
Well, I've got one coming up. So the reason I'm in New York is I'm swimming off Brighton Beach at Brooklyn, because you've got cold water. So I'm swimming the English Channel in August.
You are crazy. The best kind of crazy. We wish you the best luck.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Mark
Deirdre.
Sowerby joining me there, founder and managing director of Blue Sky.